There's an exciting new thing on the horizon. We just heard from 1X about their new Neo robot. Entrepreneurs all over are being polarized. They say, hey, we don't want this in our home. Lock it up at night. Keep your valuables safe. Don't let this thing into your house. And some saying, hey, this could unlock all of my creative potential. Either way, we're going to talk about what this could mean for you, your business, and why delegation and leverage, vision and reality, and identity and role shifts are all a part of this launch of a brand new robotic future. What's up, and welcome back to the Living Vision Show. I'm joined here today with Marty and I, our integrator, and we're going to talk about what this means to have a robot where you can buy it, set it, and forget it, along with all of your household chores. Marty, this robot is causing waves already. I've seen comments left and right. The internet's blowing up. Everyone's worried that the robots are taking over. Is Will Smith the last one to survive the iRobot campaign? It's like a really interesting thing. And we knew this was coming. Like, it's not shocking that it has been here, but the fact that it launched and you can pre-order it is sending ripples through the world. What's your first take? Are you pro Neo? Are you anti Neo?
Well, my first take is Will Smith will just kind of slap them silly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, hey, this has been foretold.
If I had to bet money, because I don't know the answer to this, I would bet that you and I are probably in different camps for it.
So you did not put down a deposit, is what you're saying.
No.
All right, let's hear it. Why so no on Neo?
Well, first of all, look at it behind you. they're creepy looking to begin with. I just think, like, where's the line that we at some point say, should we do this? I don't think anyone ever asked the question. Just because we can doesn't mean we should. And I just feel like that look starts to look too human. And the argument all along has been, oh, it's not going to replace people. It's not going to replace people. It's literally replacing people at that point, the way it looked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So definitely not putting. So I can't convince you to put down a deposit.
No, don't even ask.
I'm going to keep asking throughout the show.
That doesn't mean that at some point I don't come along. You know how I have been with AI. I finally come along. But that's one thing to do on my computer. It's another thing to have that thing, it walking around.
Well, there's something interesting happening in just this moment, because it's collapsing what we knew was inevitable. Like robots and humanoid robots were inevitable, hands down.
And they've been in movies for a long time.
Even beyond movies, though, there have been. I mean, there are robots that we use all the time. Like, what makes cars? What produces like machinery? Like, I mean, we use robots often. Them looking like humans and moving like humans was inevitable as soon as we started using them, because we wanted them to replace things like lifting boxes and moving things around, right? So I think what we're experiencing today is this moment where it's like now it's here. Now it's now. You can buy it. It's now.
What's the price on it? What's the
$20,000
going on? I'd go buy a new car before I did that.
You couldn't buy a car for $20,000.
Well, but that's a good chunk towards a car.
It is, but your car's not going to like do your laundry or clean your house.
I don't care.
Well, but this isn't about caring. This is about whether or not the revolution is real, or if this is just imagination. And something that I think is interesting is that this is putting at the forefront an interesting idea around what are we going to do if someone or something takes care of all the mundane elements of our household. What then do you do? Do you just watch TV? Because that's not really a helpful trade.
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm aware of there's essentially a food chain when it comes to economy, any kind of economy. And think about the person who would come here. I clean my own place, but the person who would come here and clean my own place. my concern and why I pull back on so much of it is what happens to the bottom of the food chain when something like this begins to replace the bottom of the food chain. That I think there's a legitimate concern for something like that, for something that a person, and my grandmother cleaned hotel rooms for much of her life. What happens to that person when it's no longer necessary?
Yeah. Yeah. My dad ran a demolition company. I worked in it for many years. And, the idea of labor there is really important. And yeah, you need some like super skilled labor for some jobs, but there's also a majority of that work that doesn't require a lot of skill. It just requires effort and energy. And yeah, I agree. It could displace a lot of that.
And then the whole system begins to upset because you're I think those of us, most of us who are listening, I was thinking of this earlier today when we were going to do this. If I go on like my Instagram or Facebook, most of the people I'm connected with don't necessarily have to worry that we do all right. We have a way to make by. We're educated, and so it's sometimes easy for us to displace ourselves from the reality of what some of this stuff does. And I
Sure.
think the question of just because we can doesn't mean we should, I think has to be part of the equation, whether whoever is creating these things in the first place needs to be a part of the conversation. It could proceed, but there has to be some kind of tension to figure out, well, what happens then. Because the perception is business in general. Amazon just laid out 14,000 people because of automation. Who's having the conversation to what happens to people who are doing those jobs? For me, that's the biggest concern.
Hmm. So there's a humanitarian
Correct.
element of
There
your
has to be.
argument against it.
There has to be. It's for those of us who believe in like conscious capitalism. That has to be part of the equation.
So, and I believe in that. And there's this degree of, I, I almost would describe it as lack of control. This is happening. If it's not this company, it's going to be another company. It's happening. So one of the challenges that I think is unfolding before us technologically and economically is that the economic train does not yield much. It doesn't change much. But the technology is now moving very fast and requires a lot of change. So you've got an economic machine that's honestly like 30 years old at this point,
Yeah,
outdated.
it's very outdated.
It's incredibly outdated. And then you've got a technological model that is moving so fast, it's like tripping over itself with failures and blunders and things that, like you're representing, are a little bit on the edge of what we know and understand about its application. So that I agree with you that there's a ton of tension. It's interesting because there's a tech geek in me that, like, I want one of these, probably more for like, I'm going to try it, right? I just want to try it out. Like, let me have it for a month, see what
When I come down, you have to lock it in the closet, though.
happens. I'll have it greet you at the door. Look, I'll have it greet you at the door with a drink. All right. Everything will be good. Espresso martini coming right up.
On a tray.
On a tray. It'll be like, hello, sir. I'll put it in an English accent. You'll love it. I'll even give it a top hat. Okay. I'll give it a top hat. But there's something about the trial of this that I love. Now, I'm holding this perspective in two places. One is I know this is coming, so I'd love to, in some ways, be an early adopter and maybe help steer it, right? Like, hey, this is out of bounds, this is inbound. The other is that if I zoom out 50 years, I would bet a lot of my resources that this is commonplace and we've navigated the bumpy road of how does this work, right? But that's 50 years from now. That's a long time.
I'll be dead. Probably.
And I get the concern.
I'll be dead.
Well, no, you'll be fine. No, you know what? Listen, how about this? We'll just put your brain in a Neo.
Bruh.
Perfect. We'll call it Marmar. It'll be great. but in all seriousness, like if this is the trend line, then it becomes an interesting challenge of, if it has to happen, let it happen and then fix it, versus try to like keep it at bay, right? I agree with you that there is a subset of work, of economic driver, and of like connection and social apparatus that is very disruptible because of this device. Very, very much agree with that. And also, can you delay it? Maybe, but you certainly can't delete it.
I don't think it's about delay. I don't think it's about delete. I think it often feels like it just gets plopped in the middle, and no one ever really deals with the problem. And the perception then is, and I'll use Amazon as an example just because they just laid off people. The perception is it's only about saving money. It doesn't take humanity into account at all. So we'll get something that looks like a human, but I don't have to pay it.
Well, you and I are never going to say
until they unionize, and then we'll have to start paying the Neos as well.
Yeah, the robots unionize. Well, that's when Will Smith says this. Like, we're good. He's here. Don't worry. I want to. You and I could debate, the humanity of it all, but I actually think this is going to bring up some interesting other topics that we can really discuss today. And the first place to start is this idea of vision. Not like vision of robots, vision of all this, but there's still on the table is this idea that I could have a robot that could take away X amount of tasks, X% of the tasks that I have to do at home. But if I can do it at home, I can do it at work, right? Can I get robots, AI, structure, team in place that could handle a wide majority of the business? And then it sort of becomes evident that I need to rethink my vision, because now the floor has just changed. And now I need to rethink the way it operates, what it does, how it works. Yes, there are some things that you can't get this thing to do that have to be done by a person, but
it still needs human navigation, from what I understand.
It does need navigation, yeah. And that's probably temporary, right? It will get better over time. But I think the same thing is true with business. Like, even if you had a full suite of robots, you still need essentially managers. Just like in a business, you need managers of people that are lower skilled versus higher skilled. But in this discussion is this idea of delegating as a way of operating your business. And it forces owners to really think about, okay, whether it's a human or a robot, I still have to delegate. And am I good at that? And this is kind of pushing a button of like, you could bring this thing into your home, and if you don't delegate well, it's just going to sit on the corner or in a closet or whatever, and 20 grand just sits and collects dust. How do you maximize your 20 grand is one question, right? Just like you would with a person in a business.
I could see it happening in an office before in a home.
To do what? What do you think?
I think it. I don't even. I don't know. I don't necessarily. I think people would feel more comfortable with it in an office before they did in home. You almost have to rethink and re-envision how you live if you have that there.
Well, it's harder for it to be a business case than a personal case, for sure.
Right now, is it sold as a personal thing, like in your house?
Yeah, it's being marketed as like a personal home assistant. But like mobility wise, like it can do laundry and clean dishes and some of these sort of household chores. That's sort of the way it's being advertised. But like it's not going to come in and crank your Excel sheet, right? It's not going to like communicate to your team that the social media platform that you're using is probably outdated and you need to update your branding. It's not going to do that. So I think right now it's strictly about sort of a tactile tasks, which has a more home apparatus. But none. I mean, the video is an interesting video to watch because the way they are sort of presenting this is almost like your little sidekick. The video is about 5 minutes long, and the founder comes on and talks about, the closing the gap between imagination and reality and all this. And like, if nothing else, they are certainly setting a marker down and a really powerful statement for, this idea of home robotics, which I think from a vision perspective, I love that. But I agree with you, the practical applications of this, like, displace one, if not more than one, potential employment opportunities or economic drivers. Still, I think that the principle of, like, if you had a bunch of your home elements delegated, what would you then do at the time? Just like in business, if you had a bunch of stuff delegated, what would you do with your time is really important, because there are a lot of visionaries that or managers that want to be visionaries that we work with, that if we cleared off their plate, if I took 80% of their tasks, and this is part of our coaching program, so I do it often, like, hey, if we took 80% off your plate, do you know what your 20% would be? And most of us don't know what that would be. If I didn't have to do laundry, dishes, cleaning, and the household was always clean, well, what do I do when I'm home? Well, now I have to redefine my role. I really have to understand where I want to go and what I want to do.
Because it's easy to make busy at work busy at home too. It becomes it can be a way to avoid something.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it, for sure. And look, entrepreneurs get caught in this. I get caught in this, where I do it because I've done it, because I've always done it, because I should do it, because I'm supposed to do it. It doesn't need to be me. It really doesn't need to be me. I think it needs to be me, but it doesn't need to be me. And if I cleared out all of those things and I'm left with that remaining unique magic, that thing that only I can do, where would I go? And what would I do? And maybe I know what that is. Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't know what the next level looks like.
And it can be that creepy thing behind you there on the screen, or someone else could be doing that stuff for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this has just kind of brought up a delegation reflection for me. Right?
That thing freaks me out. I will tell you, it just looks creepy.
Would it look different if we got a better sweater? Like, what if it had a Santa sweater? Like an ugly Christmas sweater? Would you feel more friendly?
It looks like something from a Halloween movie with that mask.
That's fair, yeah. That's fair. Yeah, I you know what I wonder? I wonder how a kid would respond to it.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, how would Emerson be with that thing?
Yeah, like, I wonder if he'd be like, whoa, this is cool. Or like, hey, Neo, I need your help. Would he just like immediately adopt this kid? Like,
hey, Neo.
Look, here's another interesting part of this that I think about, and then we'll get back into like real shit. So we're taking a detour. Pardon us. Every like anime ever is about having a robot sidekick. Like, ever. I mean, this has been science fiction since like I was 4. Was like, you have a robot sidekick. Now, I didn't ever imagine, being like, hey, robot sidekick, put the dishes away. But I mean, that's the beginning.
Star Wars had all those characters.
They had droids, right? C-3PO is way creepier than that guy. Shit.
R2-D2.
Dude, I will say this, C-3PO gives me the creepy creeps. At least Neo like kind of doubled it down.
Not really. But he was metal, so you would expect it. Like that. Why do they put it in that outfit?
I don't know. It's a sterile device, Marty. I don't
and I can get white or brown.
Okay, here's another interesting piece of this announcement, and what's coming up for me is that the more you think about delegation, the more you have to face role change, the more you have to face identity change. Now, every single business owner can talk about this, where we start the business and we have 90 hats. Even you, when you and I started this thing, you were wearing 90 hats, and we slowly start getting hats delegated and built. And as you do that, you have to rebuild what you do and who you are. And, much of what this possibly could solve for a person is, my identity is being a housekeeper. And now I've got something else I've got to do, something else I've got to build, something else I've got to create. Then the same applies in business, right? If you could have robotics take over whopping chunk of your responsibilities, okay, now you have to really change your role, change how you operate. And you eventually have to become a leader, even though we're talking about robotics here, we're thematically, it's still about being a leader. You, I mean, I guess the thing could choose on its own, but you still have to lead it in some way.
Yeah, and some of these things I'll say should happen, robot or no robot. Right? It's the natural progression of, if you're going to continue to grow in your job, in your role, it's going to have to evolve, regardless of whether there's a creepy thing or not walking around.
Yeah. Well,
Do you think people will be able to tell how? Do you think people will be able to tell how I feel about it?
no, no, I think you seem sort of stuck in the middle.
Right.
uh, what I do think about though is like every moment where I've hired somebody or we've hired somebody where they're better than me forces me to do two things. One, to acknowledge that I was not as good as I thought I was. And two, to double down on what I actually am really, really good at, or what's different about me, right? What makes me good, great, potentially. And and I think this is a potential outcome of this kind of movement where you can get out the things that I don't know anyone that's like, man, my unique ability, what I'm really good at is like, ooh, them dishes be sparkling. You don't even know. So there is this idea of, can we get more people into their lane of genius? And I think every kid has one. I think every person has one. Sometimes they're harder to find than others. Sometimes they're harder to monetize than others. But even just thematically, this has definitely brought up thoughts for me of, okay, I'd have more time to get into my lane and stay in my lane. And every business owner, I think every business should be thinking, how do we get people in any of the jobs that we have where this is their magic, right? Somebody is really strong. Okay, put them in a job where they can use their strength. If they're really creative, put them in a job that uses their creativity. And whether or not that's the answer is robotics, the answer is definitely moving towards higher specialization.
It creates synergy.
Ooh, nice. Nice. We have a program called Synergy. That's why a lot of people don't know about it because we keep it to our post graduation one-on-one clients that have access to it. But yes, that word is I love. Yes. Uh, tell me more about synergy? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, you talking about robotics? You talking about specialization? What do you mean?
Well, I would bet anyone listening to this has learned it the hard way, myself included, by having people plug holes rather than, I don't know a word that I would describe it, but other than synergy, where things kind of just kind of come together. I can't think of a word to describe that.
So meaning
Um,
like you hire someone that can do the job or like just fits in the puzzle piece.
well, I think we have a tendency to plug holes more than anything, and that just gets you a person. That doesn't mean they're a fit for the business, for life. And you have to begin to, as you were just speaking, find the person who not only comes with you obviously want the person with the skill, but the person also has to fit the 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 general movement of the business, because one person could stop the flow of the business entirely. I don't care if that's secretary or someone else, because I've seen it even with secretary. And so when I say synergy, it's being able to operate in that way where everyone work is moving in the same direction and one's not trying to pull it in another way. It's just a different mindset when you're bringing people on, that you're not just plugging holes.
Yeah. And you have to be willing to change
Correct.
if that hole gets if you find the right fit. I find that the business owner is often the last one to move because they've done it a certain way for so long that now, or they plugged the hole and they had to micromanage or what have you, that now it's time to go, and they're usually the slow one.
Well, and think about it this way: when especially if a key person left a job, even if there's a 2-week notice, it's still a big hole that opens up. The natural inclination, as we've talked about on this podcast, you automatically revert to scarcity mindset. And that's going, if that becomes the driver for how you then look for another person to kind of fit on the bus,
Mhm.
that's where we run into problems and end up just filling holes because we're not operating from the right mindset.
Yeah, scarcity kicks in for sure. Fear, all of those things. So, in theory, if you hired, quote unquote, hired a Neo, it would always fit, right? You would just train it better. You wouldn't like delete it and chuck it in a garbage. You would train it better. You would have to develop it to do the job better.
And yeah, and will there always be limitations with something like that? The more I use AI, the more I also see how it's limited because of
For sure.
its ability or lack thereof.
Yeah.
If you just take it at face value, you're going to think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But there are limitations to all of it once you start to use it.
Yeah. I mean, this thing probably couldn't draw, like, be the best graphic designer in a, creative
Right.
agency.
Any of those professional type jobs, it's going to be a while before that would replace that.
Yeah. I think that's still the same conversation from our general AI dialogue.
Yeah, yeah. If I need an operation on my heart, I'd still want a human being to do it, even if they're using tools that are automated.
Okay, so let's go down this road. Like, is automation, right? Something like this, the enemy of leadership and vision, or does it help you get there?
It
Does it
depends on how
amplify?
you use it. It depends on how you use it.
Well, that's a cop out. You can't say it depends.
But that's the answer. It depends. No, it isn't. No. Tell me why
No,
it is.
no, I don't have a point. I'm going off whatever you say. But this isn't about Neo. This is about the idea of automation, because AI is creating automation. Amazon laid people off because of automation. This robot certainly still is. Like, automation is a thing, and it does seem to get a really bad rap, especially right now when you look at the humanity of it. But I think there's a very three-dimensional part of this that is not typically discussed, because while it is often creating a displacement, it's filling a role that opens up space somewhere else. What I don't think the economic system has caught up to that spacing, but it
Correct.
is there.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. You're right. Because there's always going to be automation. They're just I don't know when automation was for when like newspapers and cars and stuff like that. When automation in that way became a thing, I'm sure it did the same thing. There was displacement that took place. It's who helps the displaced to become to enter back into the system.
For sure. And that may be an interesting follow up to this podcast, and what I hear is that, it's really important that we are monitoring the system, right? There's an orchestrator, there's a leader to the system, whatever the automated system is. But this is no different than the last, so let's go back 70 years, right? So the 50s. This is no different than any of the other major tech leaps.
Well, that's what I said. Yeah, it's happened before.
And we said the same thing. Like, I'm really uncomfortable with it, but it's coming.
We just weren't living in it at that time. We're now living in it. That makes it different.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Like I can't speak to what it was like in the 50s. I know this is hard to believe, but I was not born in the 50s, so I could not tell you what that was like, or the 40s, or whenever. So until you live through that type of experience, it's hard. I could read it in a history book, but it's still different when you're living through it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely know this from my saga, even though I didn't live back then. I can distinctly remember conversations with my grandfather about the cell phone. I can remember conversations about laptop with my parents. I can remember conversations about AI with my friends 6 years ago about Bitcoin, right? About how the world was going to topple because of this tech change. And yet we're pretty adaptable as a species. We've figured this stuff out, but this is no doubt a mile marker of, okay, robotics are here. I think this is a statement more than anything. Robotics are here and they're about to be where you are. So you need to quickly figure out what your value statement is and what you're about, because there's about to be an influx of unskilled labor that can be automated, that can be completely delegated out. And if that's your battle cry for how you want to plan economic growth, you're going to face some significant uphill battles. I'm not saying that is right or wrong. That's just what's about to happen, right? If you can fleet these things out, it just is.
Yeah,
And
I'm not living in denial of it or anything like that. I just think questions should be asked. That's all I'm saying.
well, okay, here's a question. They have them in white, blue, or black. Which one should I order for you? That would be the best Christmas gift ever.
I do not see a blue one behind you there. I see brown and white.
No, it's kind of like, it's like a grayish blue. Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the one with the vacuum. First of all, that vacuum looks like it's about 500 years old. Who uses a vacuum that looks like that anymore?
I know. You have this futuristic robot holding a vacuum from the 50s.
From the 50s. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it plugged in? Yeah, it's even plugged in. What the heck? What I think about.
I'm sure they were making some kind of statement there with that.
I'm sure. What I was thinking about when I watched the video. So again, the video is a storytelling saga. And while I'm watching it, I'm like, what kind of emotions are happening here? And there's sort of this like companion element in the home where, you can ask it to read you something, or, somebody loses their glasses and it goes and finds your glasses, or it opens the door because you don't have your hands because you got groceries, or it brings in the groceries, right? All these little things. And I'm like,
I wonder if it would try to carry all the groceries at the same time. Like,
oh, if I get a Neo, I'm training it, bro. One trip only. You better figure this out. Come on, man. This is a Velky practice here. But I had this thought. What would the world look like? Or even just my world, what would my world look like if all of the household things were taken care of? Like all of them. Where all, like, if I want to cook, I'm like, hey, prep everything I need for dinner tonight, and it's there. Not that I've read that it can't cook because for a lot of reasons, but can't do that. But it could get everything out.
Its costume,
right? The sweater might catch on fire. But if it can do all these things, well, then what do I focus on now? Now, as an entrepreneur, right, I go immediately into, okay, it allows me to think about family time more, or friend time, or prep. I mean, no different than me automating grocery delivery. Like I don't go to the grocery store because I'm like, that hour could be used so much more productively, even if that production is rest or working out or like playing Magna Tiles with Emerson, right? So it did force me to really reflect on what's my value in the home if some of these things can be done, right? If it's not like, hey man, can you twist this jar open? Well, give it to Neo. And it does kind of challenge some of those, what's a man do? What's a woman do? What does a person do in a household? What's a robot do in a household? And the guy that founded it speaks over like he has a voiceover as he shows you all these different possibilities of this device. And he's like, in the Jetsons, they had Rosie. And Rosie took care of the house. Like Rosie swept and made sure the floor was clean. Yeah, that's what she was. And it was just interesting that he referenced the Jetsons. But it did bring something up to be like, well, I mean, it did seem like the Jetsons lived pretty dope. I mean, they had like some good lives. Seemed that way. And
The first episode of the Jetsons was 1962.
wow. Okay, so this is a 60-year vision from Jetson Man, whoever wrote Jetson. Uh, and and have it come to life, again, it challenges. What if we got rid of things that don't matter? I think about what Amazon has done. Amazon has radically changed delivery and logistics. Like, if anybody says they're a retail company, they don't know Amazon. Amazon's a logistics and operation and delivery company.
Yeah,
They're great at it.
I actually thought of it today because I'd ordered something that was coming by UPS, and I'm like, why does this package take a week to get here when Amazon could get it here the next day?
So that's what Amazon did, right? They really reframed the vision of Amazon was about logistics at a certain point, right? It didn't start that way, but they're a logistics company. And a year, well, not a year. Let's go back 10 years, and maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 15. You wouldn't think twice about something taking a week to get here. In fact, you'd be like, a week? Oh my God,
Correct.
that's amazing.
Correct. Yep.
So we have these paradigms where things really change, and at each of these big technology cycles, we completely shed a set of labor, right? I mean, like factory work for cars now is not like stapling metal anymore. It's overseeing, maybe like checking, and the car industry is still thriving. That might be debatable. I have to fact check that. But I think that this is going to usher in a new wave of recycling what can labor be used for. And then we do have to have the conversation about, what do we do with displaced individuals? But there's a really cool thing happening. There's a potential to have a more or less like full-time employee in a household all over. That's kind of wild. For like to have an au pair. I mean, you can't replace an au pair with this, but conceptually you have help. And I don't know, maybe there are just like some exciting things about this, not even Neo, but about the prospect of this happening now in 2025.
The question that it prompts for me is, does it push us to re-envision what it means to be human? I'll reframe my own question and doubt from the beginning in that way. Is there a summons of some sort from the universe, like it's time to rethink how we see humans?
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting theory. This is just coming to me. We go from hunter-gatherers. We no longer hunt or gather.
Okay, correct. Well, some do.
Fair. I guess, first world country, hunting and gathering is pretty much subsided. So now we've been driven into this economy where the production of value is based on skilled labor, not hunting and gathering. So now we have like skilled labor. But generally, like, labor is still sort of the driver. And if you replace labor, then the question is, where do you go next? So you go from hunt to labor to what? And ultimately, if you have all this labor and all this ability to make things happen, then it does become about vision, because you can build something very differently than now.
Yeah, because even the vision of labor, using your word there, has died. Like, we're beyond that idea. The new one just hasn't emerged yet.
Yeah. We don't have it yet, for sure. There's a new model that's not here yet. It really can't be here until, all this happens. The one thing that I found most endearing about the video that they have promoting this is that they openly said, this will not be perfect. There's going to be bumps. They're going to get things wrong, like all these things. And that was probably the most open thing that I heard in that video. They're like, hey, we're going to mess this up. Because this is idealistic at best, right? Impractical, expensive for somebody. I mean, the tech bros everywhere are probably rejoicing, right? They're like, oh my God, 20 grand, I'm ready. But that doesn't mean that adoption is going to be nearly as flawless. I expect things will break, right? That the robot will knock over glasses and, stuff like that. Like if it only has cameras here and maybe like some receptors other places, it's lacking awareness in some sense. I have a feeling there will be a messy process. And that is the most human thing about that ad, that this thing might not work properly right away.
I wonder if at some point they adopt kind of we're used to Waymo here in Arizona, a similar type of setup where that thing knows everything that's going on around it, where it could even see what's going on behind it, where we as humans can have that ability. But at some point, I wonder if that becomes a technology. I would think that there's something in there that you can update the technology as it goes.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I posted in a private community I'm a part of about it just to see where people are at. 80% of the people were like, nope. Like, lock it up at night. It's going to steal your shit. Like, it was kind of wild to see responses.
I want to see you wake up one night in the middle of the night and that thing's standing over you.
Right over top of you. Yeah. Hello, sir.
With a pillow coming at you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's real, right? It's definitely real. Waymo's an interesting example to connect. Like, it's robotics, right? But we're not nearly as apprehensive. It's nerve wracking the first time you get into Waymo, but not nearly as apprehensive as having a robot in your house.
I'm way more apprehensive when I'm walking and the Waymo's coming than when I'm driving. Because I'm like, does it know I'm here? Will it see me? Should I walk out?
Yeah. Being in a Waymo is a very interesting exercise in patience and loss of control. And it doesn't really make sense because if I'm in the backseat of, let's say you're the Uber driver, if I'm in the backseat, I have no control. And me being in the back of a Waymo, I have no control. But I'm like, well, a human's there, so is that better? I don't know. But it twists you up a little bit, right? And I think the same thing is happening here. Hey, if I like hire someone to come in and clean the floors or to do the dishes or to do my laundry, is that the same or different than if I get something automated to do that? Like, I don't know. I'm still not doing it. In the long run, it might save me a bunch of money. If it's $500 a month to do this thing, hey, maybe I'll try it out and see if I can get my laundry done.
I think people, myself included, I will add myself to it. I feel more confident that if I'm in an Uber, that person has more control than a computer. That may not be true.
I was going to say, I got some Ubers I've been in where,
well, I'm not myself as well here. That it's all it is a perception, but it's just a perception.
Well, my sense is that robotics on the middle, on a bell curve, robotics get the middle better than the average person, right? So like compare a Waymo to an Uber driver under 80% of the normal circumstances, they probably do it better because there's no emotion, right? It's just
the Waymo
calculation. Right. It's just done.
I'll never forget the one Uber guy that picked me up here at the Phoenix airport. He's like giving someone the finger as we're pulling out. I'm like,
yeah,
what
that's
the
not
heck
what
are you doing?
Waymo's not finger flipping anybody. But on the ends, right, on the high end and the low end, where maybe there's danger or there's a critical decision or a split second decision that requires an emotional calculation, that's where automation will fail. And that is an important thing to be able to work on, is like, hey, let's automate this 80% where it's unemotional and can just get done. And then on the outskirts of that, no automation. We want a human in that cockpit to make sure decisions are being made rightly.
I mean, I have not been in a Waymo. I'll say that I've only been around them.
Oh, we're definitely making this happen.
Like on the 101, I can see the red lights ahead of me if there's congestion and traffic stops. Does the Waymo, I'm assuming, but I don't know, does the Waymo have the ability to see that far down the road and say, I need to slow down? Do you know?
I in what I've been in, I could say yes. How it does that, I couldn't tell you, but most of us as consumers of these automations don't need to know the how. We don't even want to know the how.
Now, I would say I would take the Waymo over, and I've seen it here. The people who are like on their phone like this, I'll take the Waymo over that person.
Right. So that we end up in an interesting place, right? Let's compare that to this Neo experience, right? Would you want someone in your home that you don't know, that you've never really had a relationship with, that has access to all of your shit, all your belongings, has free roam to move around your house when you're not there, cleaning your home? Next thing you know, your $20,000 watch is gone. And they're like, I don't know. Or do you want to be like, hey, robot, where's my flipping watch? And it's like, I put your watch in the dishwasher. Whatever. But
I sold it at
that
the
does
pawn shop.
that this really becomes a conversation about trust, right? Would you trust a Waymo over a drunk Uber driver? Would you? Well, okay, cool. And now we start to get out into the ends of the bell curve where suddenly trust is more questionable because the automations aren't as clean. But in that middle ground of that bell curve, I'd probably take automation over a person in a whopping amount of cases.
Because the emotion's taken out of it.
Because the emotion's taken out of it and it's systemized, right? It's just like follow the rules. Just follow. Hey, just do this task. You don't need to like. Don't ask me about like the existentialism of quartz while you put away the cups. Just put the cups away, right?
You would have the Neo that goes through an existential crisis.
Yeah. I'm having a moment, sir.
I'm going to train my Neo to have an existential crisis.
I like this. So you're in. It's working, guys. It's working.
I'm going to train Aaron's Neo to have an existential crisis.
Oh, we're having too much fun today. We're having too much fun.
So is it all circumstantial then? Not all, but a lot of it is circumstantial.
Well,
I'll go in a Waymo before I get in a car with an Uber driver who's drunk.
Definitely. And here's a couple circumstances that are potentially important to consider with this Neo. If my parents are getting older, if I can't afford a full-time housekeeper to just be there to make sure they're good, this is an option, right? $500 a month is very different than like hospice care for $7,000 a month, right? Or, hey, like I need someone to like check in on them because I'm 2,400 miles away. There's options there. And I do think it's all circumstantial, and most things are circumstantial, and we try to paint it as black and white. And then when circumstance cuts in, it's like, no, this is now a viable option.
I'm just thinking of your parents with a Neo.
It would be I would want the video download from the Neo. That would be
now that Neo. That's the Neo that will have an existential crisis.
Yes. Yes. My dad's like, get the noodles. Neo comes back with the noodles. Not these noodles, the other noodles. Sorry, sir. Sorry, I didn't mean it.
You'd be getting into fights with it.
That's totally true. Yeah, debates with Neo. Yeah, there's going to be a lot around this. And I hope more than anything, what we are looking at with this opportunity is how do we see our role? How do we see tactility? How do we see interactivity with other people? The conversation right now is like human to robot. And I think that's an important piece of this for sure. But I actually think this is asking a different question. It's forcing us to ask the question, what do human to human interactions need to be? And can they be if we were able to take care of some of the bottom line? I get that there's displacement. I think there is some real economic change that we're going to need because we're going to bump a whole lot of people out of the market. But it also could open up beautifully. Maybe I'm an optimist, call me a dreamer, but I do think it could open up a whole new realm of like, this is what we do together now.
Yeah, and I think it also won't stop it. I just think there has to be dialogue about it. I think it's necessary dialogue. But I like the point from earlier about changing the paradigm of the human as just kind of labor agents.
Yeah.
Because I think that and we know this, even people we work with, our whole identity becomes about producing. And is that part of the paradigm that shifts with it?
Mm, big time. Which largely has been the argument for AI, right? This will make us more creative. Well, we got to change the education system like immediately. Long overdue for a rewrite and way behind still, but we need to teach people the tools to do that. But yeah, there's some interesting things about, what does this unlock? Let's just say it this way: if let's say I'm making up stats, but I'm basing this on my own experience. If the average family got back 2 hours a night or 2 hours a day of like connective time, what is that worth? Now, we're assuming that they use it well or they know how to be present
Or how
or
to do it, how to be it.
how to connect, right? How to do something for sure. There's a lot of ifs there, but 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week, just on the weekdays, like that's a significant time. That's enough to change the trajectory of how a family lives, thrives, and operates. It does open up those questions. Will it be that clean? Surely not, because it's not that simple.
Yeah, no, I like that approach. That approach, I would also say that then it would surprise me, why would the business economic system not have more pushback to it? Because that it also forces that whole structure to change with that mindset. That humans are
If
more than just producers and labor people.
I see your point. Yeah, it challenges the business rhetoric for how
It's
we use people.
correct. Now, I will
Yeah,
say I think that's a shift that it has been moving probably decades at this point. I know during my time teaching that often came up. So it may just be we're still in the middle of that transition,
yeah.
which probably takes a generation.
It's pretty wild, man. Yeah, I just think we're living in a really interesting time. I think Emerson's living in a really interesting time as a kid. And again, 20 years from now, like when he's an adult, this is not going to be like, we're not going to be debating this. We're going to be like, I mean, do we give him missiles or not? It's going to be a completely different conversation.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Emerson is 3, and and he doesn't watch much television at all. But when he does, he sometimes has to show him we got to use the remote control.
yeah, yeah, he picks it up. He's like, oh, I got it. The red one. Oh,
Yeah, he knows it by where it is, what it looks like.
yeah. Well, we'll be having conversations in 2 or 3 years about uh, probably iRobot things, right? Like, what are robot laws, right? Like, how does a robot know to defend me if I'm hurt? Or can a robot use a pistol? Like,
Right,
I don't
yeah,
know.
not do harm.
Right.
Well, they already do though. We have drones. They already do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not the drone, it's a human being who's operating it.
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating what this is. Anybody listening to this, please take a minute and go watch the video from 1X. Go to their website and just watch it. It's probably 4 minutes long, maybe 5 minutes long, maybe it's 7. I don't know. But it is a profound rendition of what it means to sell a vision. Now, I'm just going to comment on this, and Marty, we can kind of taper down from here. This is a vision coming to life that other people are either like yes or no. Very polarizing. We are watching someone bring their vision to life that involves bringing other people into it and starting like this movement. And I think for that alone, there is something very near and dear to my heart of watching this guy tell his story of what this vision is and watch it breathe, and then watch people be like, you know what? I want to be a part of this. I want to subscribe to this. I want to buy one. I want to try this out. Like, it could totally bomb. Like, my house could be taken over by a parasitic robot, but I'm about to try this. And that is really cool. It's very cool to see vision coming to life anytime I see it. And this is certainly an example of that. And that video showcases how to talk about a vision because he doesn't talk about the product very much. Like I can read more in an article about the thing, about how much weight it can lift, about how much it weighs, about the volume it puts out, about all these features, right? But you don't care. No, this vision is not about like, well, we use this kind of polymer and we use this kind of metal and we use like no one cares about the number of gears in this thing. No one cares. What we care about is the vision. And I think that is really kind of cool.
Yeah, most people only care also, does it work? If I
Yeah.
bring it into my house, does it work? That I don't care otherwise. That doesn't work.
Yeah. Is it going to do what you say it's going to do?
Correct.
Yeah. It's going to definitely disrupt the idea of delegation. I think it's, going to challenge us to think about what it means to live at home.
And what it means to be a human.
Yeah, for sure. Here's a question for you as you drive, walk, listen. What's one task that future you won't do? And whether it's this robot or the next one, what can you delegate, get rid of, and automate so that you can go pursue what's amazing? What does your role become? Who do you become when your household can be managed completely autonomously? That is a fascinating question. If a robot could do one thing in your house, Marty, to just take off your plate, like the grievance of managing your household, what would it be? What one thing would you have it do?
The grievance. Well, at this very moment, like today, it would be packing up my stuff now. Next couple
Okay.
weeks, I need you to pack up my stuff.
All right. Packing. Got it. I think for me, it might be dishes. Probably laundry.
See, I like doing both of those. They have always been therapeutic for me. And so I would give it cleaning. I could do without it. I don't mind doing it. But those two things are therapeutic for me.
So if it did do the laundry and the dishes for you, what would you do that would be more therapeutic?
I'm going to go out for a walk.
All right. Let's get you a Neo. I'm signing you up.
Still a pretty hard no, but okay.
Your Christmas gift has arrived. What would be even more amazing is if somehow I could make this happen and Christmas, there's like a box under your tree and it just like, like in the middle of your morning while you're having your coffee. It's like, hi, I'm Neo. But
We'll be
like
on
the
the
present
news.
with the shreds.
Yeah. Took over the whole house.
It sounds amazing. I love this idea. Okay. Delegation, futures, visions, systems, automation. There's a lot to unpack here. I want to know what you think about the Neo. Are you a pro? Are you going in and signing up for the $200 deposit? You can get a monthly subscription or pay in full. Are you doing it? Or are you like curmudgeony Marty and going no-go and saying, you know what? I'll do these things myself. Don't touch my stuff. Don't come in my house. Don't look at me with your weird shaped face. I want no part of this movement. I want to know. Send me a note. Send me a DM at Aaron Velke on
I
Instagram.
found that to be a very judgmental statement. Now, the one thing is, Neo wouldn't do that to me. Another human will do that to me, but not the Neo.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
I'll give,
yeah.
I'll give it some credit there
Robots show love in very different ways than humans.
by doing.
Yeah, I will do your dishes. I'm like, yeah, I'm a bit more sarcastic and I show love by punchy comments.
Ridiculing.
Yeah, it's a love language. One of the things I used to say when I was on the soccer field with all the girls I used to coach, I would say that sarcasm was their love language, so it sort of became my love language because I knew when they made fun of me, they were safe, and then we would just start like bantering back and forth and make fun of each other the whole practice, and that's when I knew we had a good culture. So we just have a good culture. We'll train Neo. It's all good. We'll train him.
Okay.
I appreciate you tuning in. Marty, as always, great additions here and hopefully some great things for you to think about there at home. Love to know what you think about Neo, pro or no, and ride along as we follow this journey. Because I don't know whether I'm a pro, like I'm signing up today, or if I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I'm really busy. So
I do
it
like the
might
fact
be,
that you only have to put $200 down on a $20,000 item.
yeah. Well, it's like they did this with Cybertruck, right? It's really just to gauge interest. But they're doing it, man. The publicity stunt is real. It's live. There's a promise. There's a gap. There's robots coming your way. Thank you for being a part of the Living Vision Show. We'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and like and review if you're on Apple or Spotify. We appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day.